If you're watching this video and you implement the things that I lay out for you, I am sure that you're going to view your mental health in a completely different light after this. Because not only will these simple yet effective steps help you make changes to your mental health so you feel in a better mood, you have a relaxed and different relationship with your thoughts, but you will also feel more confident in how you can work on your mental health going forward. You can just apply these simple tools based on metacognitive therapy. So I know this is a bold statement, but you are here watching yet another video on how to improve your mental health. So the question is, if all the stuff that's out there is so helpful, why aren't you out there implementing them? Now, this is not to say that I'm blaming you or thinking that you're lazy and not doing enough to improve your mental health. In fact, I actually think that there is a reason why you are not implementing the things that you've learned, that you've already seen and read about. So let's go over the reasons first to help you understand some of these dynamics better. So the first reason why you may not have implemented what you've learned so far is that there's a jungle out there when it comes to mental health related information. There's so much you can learn and read up and watch, and it's difficult to understand which ones to implement, what to do. If I look up stuff online, I can learn everything from distracting myself to deep breathing to meditation to changing my thoughts, to do positive affirmations. And there's so much to choose from. It's not really easy to decide what to do. So that's the first obstacle, to choose something out of the thousands and thousands of advice and tips that are out there. The second reason why it's difficult to implement the things that you've learned already is that it's scary to change your habits. We humans are naturally bound to react with anxiety whenever we encounter new and novel situations. And usually that anxiety is adaptive because it helps us to hesitate a little bit and take a step back before we do something that could be risky for our lives. But relying too much on the anxiety in order to make changes is going to only hold us back. So if you're feeling scared about implementing the new things that you learn to improve your mental health, will that anxiety hold you back from actually taking a step forward toward a better mental health? Another reason why it is scary to implement something new to improve your mental health is that what if you started something but you couldn't finish it? What if you implemented something new? Let's say you started meditating and you did that for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but then you stopped. If you did that, that could reflect badly on you, or you could confirm some of the beliefs that you may have about yourself of not being disciplined enough, or not being good enough, or not following through. Or even worse yet, if you implemented some of these things, but they didn't work for you, you might end up concluding that you are someone who's too broken and beyond repair, and what you're suffering from is too serious to ever be dealt with. That anxiety is enough to scare people away from implementing new things that could actually be helpful for them. The third reason why some people don't implement the things that they learn to improve their mental health is that they actually just simply don't implement. The reason is that trying something new is difficult. Changing a new habit is difficult because it requires a lot of attention and a lot of repetition before it becomes a normal part of your repertoire of your tools. Let's say if you started to implement positive thinking, well, you may do that for a couple of days on your holiday when you're feeling relaxed, you're not at work, you don't have these obligations, then it's easy to remember and implement. But as soon as you go back to your daily routine and things kind of run on autopilot, you somehow forget to do the things that you need to do consistently in order to make this a part of you. So I think not remembering to be consistent and not remembering to even apply the thing is one of the reasons that many people just don't feel better from all the advice that they learn. The fourth reason why it's difficult to implement things that you learn to improve your mental health is just that maybe the things that you learn are not so relevant. Now, most people, according to metacognitive therapy, struggle with anxiety because they worry and they have a tense relationship with their worrying and with their anxiety. So they're afraid of worrying and they're also afraid of the feelings of anxiety that come up. So they do a lot of things, including worrying, to resolve that and get rid of their anxiety. Problem is just this tremendous effort to get rid of anxiety is what actually exacerbates anxiety. If you, let's say you watch a video on how to deal with your anxiety, and you learn that you should distract yourself from your anxiety by reading something, taking deep breath, or thinking positively, well, that may only help you in the short term by making you feel calmer, but in the long term, your relationship to your anxiety is still as tense. You're still afraid of worrying, you're still afraid of your emotions, And it's going to be a constant struggle to make your anxiety go away before you think you can function, rather than learning that worrying is harmless, anxiety is fine, and you can still cope and you can still be okay. Finding the right type of information to help you improve your mental health is very, very important. I will give you something that is going to be applicable for you, because what I see in my clinic, but also in my experience and based on the research, the majority of the people who struggle with their mental health are doing one thing that is making things worse for them. So let's go to the first tip, and that is to stop overthinking. Now, a lot of people overthink, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But overthinking your relationships, overthinking your future potential problems that could happen, overthinking a project at work, not only impacts your mood negatively, it makes you sad and depressed and anxious and stressed, it also prevents you from taking action that could help you solve that problem. Overthinking in metacognitive therapy consists of either worrying and ruminating. So worrying is asking yourself a lot of what-if questions and imagining future catastrophic scenarios. So things that could go wrong, like what if I get fired? What if a hurricane damages our house? What if something terrible happens to my family? What if I don't succeed in life? So that's worrying. And worrying is just building on these what if questions with more what if questions and imagining all the things that can go wrong in the future, which is in an effort to cope with that potential threat or danger. However, worrying for a long time just exacerbates the anxiety and the tension that people feel. So that's one way of overthinking. Another way of overthinking is through rumination. Rumination is trying to find meanings and understand meanings of things. So let's say something that happened in the past or something happened a couple of days ago at work. If you ruminate, you go over that episode again and again in your mind. Usually it's in an effort to understand the meaning of things or learn from that experience or trying to problem solve. So a lot of people ruminate about their moods. Rumination and worry are active thinking strategies that most of us do. However, if we do them for a long time and over with all kinds of problems, we're going to feel sad, feel depressed, feel anxious, feel stressed, feel angry, have low self-confidence. It's important to learn to reduce that. Studies do show that when people ruminate and worry in an effort to problem solve, they actually don't come up with as good solutions to their problems as if they didn't, but actually just problem solve instead. Also, if they do find good solutions, they're less inclined to act on them and actually implement them because they feel less confident about their ability to solve these problems. So in general, overthinking in the form of worry and rumination is not helpful in helping you feel better, solve your problems, and move on with life. This is the reason why metacognitive therapy focuses so much on helping people reduce their overthinking, reduce their worrying and rumination. In fact, according to metacognitive theory, people feel depressed and anxious, so they develop anxiety and depressive disorders because they worry and ruminate. Imagine that. So the first important point in metacognitive therapy is to help people reduce how much time they spend overthinking. And you can do the same thing. And here's how. Decide only to worry or ruminate for a specific period in your day. And the rest of the day, you should allow yourself to take a break from all that overthinking. I usually advise my clients to schedule a rumination time or worry time later in the day. So ideally, half an hour in the afternoon, 5 p.m. or half an hour, 7 p.m. So that's your rumination time or reflection time. That's your scheduled time that's completely allocated to worrying and ruminating. The rest of the time, try to get into the habit of postponing how much time you spend worrying. So let's say if you go about your day 10 a.m. and you start worrying about something that's going to happen later at work, try to postpone thinking about that for later. Do that for 2 weeks and I promise you things are gonna change completely. You're going to feel much better, much more relaxed, much more present, and you're gonna have a better perspective on your problem when you get to your worry time later. So it's gonna be win-win. So if there's one thing you should do to improve your mental health and only one thing for the rest of your life, I would highly recommend that you focus on reducing your overthinking. Now, you may think, that's fine, I can do that, but I still have real life problems that need to be taken care of. And that's completely understandable and okay. However, since worrying doesn't help you to find the solutions and move on with life, it's better to do the tip number 2, which is to actually problem solve. Problem solving is very different from overthinking because you don't spend so much time dwelling on the problem. Instead, you define the problem you brainstorm solutions and you start implementing 1 or 2 of those solutions at a time. I've made a video about how to problem solve in details with examples. If you're interested in learning about that, you can check the link for the video in the description below. But generally, try to problem solve your problems rather than just worrying and ruminating about them. That's going to be very, very helpful. Now, I'd like to remind you that not all problems are solvable. So there are some problems like, what if a terrible catastrophe happened, or something terrible happened to my family, or what if I got fired? Not all these problems can be problem solved, and that's okay. What I would like you to do is just to postpone worrying and ruminating about them for your scheduled worry time. And the rest of the time, take your mind off that and focus on the things that are important for you. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that with these 2 tips, you're already way ahead when it comes to mental health strategies, because if you implement these 2 things consistently, it's going to be a complete game changer in your life. You're going to feel more relaxed and less anxious and less tense and less afraid of thoughts and feelings. But this way of dealing with your thoughts and feelings, by not overthinking them and just problem solve actual problems, is going to help you so much. The third and final tip to transforming your mental health is by not letting your emotions dictate you. Although emotions are helpful in guiding us to be cautious or perform better even when it comes to anxiety, it's better not to rely too much on our emotions. For example, if you're going to start something new, let's say you're starting a new job, you are going to feel nervous, but you don't let that nervousness stop you from going ahead and starting working and learning new things, right? There are a lot of examples of things we do in life that we just overrule our emotions and do those things anyway. You're going to feel a lot of difficult emotions in your life, and if you wait for them to resolve before you can move on with things, starting your business or going out traveling or doing something, you're not gonna make it far, because emotions are gonna come and go. So you're not gonna be free of negative emotions for the rest of your life. The best thing you can do, rather than being afraid of them or wait for them to go away before you can do things, is actually just to do things anyway. And instead of letting your emotions guide you, whether a decision is right or wrong, it's better to let your values guide you. So there's a difference. Let's say, for example, you're presented with a professional opportunity, and that opportunity is interesting, but it also brings up a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of insecurity. You cannot let that feeling of anxiety and insecurity dictate whether you make a decision or not. Instead, it's better to rely on your values, your core values, for making that decision. For example, if your values are to be able to provide for your family, and this job opportunity is going to help you do that, or this opportunity is going to help you grow so much professionally that it's going to be very valuable for you going on forward, then it's better to base that decision on your values, your core values, rather than feeling a certain way or not. And this is just an example. I think a lot of people experience having difficult emotions, negative emotions, in a lot of aspects in their lives. It's a good opportunity to start practicing not to rely on your emotions before you make decisions and do things that are important for you, but shift to your values instead. So here we were, the 3 tips on how you can improve your mental health in a very simple way, inspired by metacognitive therapy. These are very, very simple, but they are super effective. Start implementing this for 2 weeks at least, but ideally for 1 month, and do that consistently, and see if this is a much better strategy for you to manage your mental health. Thank you for watching.